If we can provide a way for young ladies to make money without going into this particular pathway, if we can show them that you're really not making this money, you're really an instrument to make money for other people. However, in this tragic, trauma-induced state, you have gained some skills that is very valuable and monetizable. Homelessness is a pathway to trafficking. So just stop. Don't think that if I have to support something that says trafficking. You don't. You have to support those organizations that support the victims who are coming out of this situation as well.
All right, so thanks everyone for tuning into this first actual episode of Find Your Cause that we're partnered with Fluent Radio on. Today we have Kisha, Dr. Kisha. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Listeners that we've had for a while know this, but for new listeners, our nonprofit's called Greater Than 0%, and our mission is to find people and causes changing the world and sharing their story. Been around for 4 years, interviewed 160 plus organizations and people, and are really excited to dive deeper into what Dr. Kisha is doing and learning more about the work that she's doing in Chicago here. Before we get into it, Dr. Kisha, talk to us a little bit about your origin story over the past couple decades of getting into the line of work you're doing.
Oh, wow. So my origin story really started with just my generational substance abuse in my family and things of that nature. I started working at juvenile court 21 years ago. And in the process of that work, I wrote a few curriculums, started a few programs with girls who were involved with the justice system. My program covered 3 courthouses.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started. And so as that grew, I started thinking, does it make sense for a young woman to have to come through the juvenile court doors in order to get the services that we were providing? And so I went to 4 other women and I bought them breakfast one Saturday morning, and I introduced the idea of a rites of passage mentoring program for girls, the same age group as the girls that we served in juvenile court. So we went from 13 to 18. And so at that breakfast, Social Butterfly Foundation was born. And so we did Social Butterfly Foundation for about 7 years face-to-face, and then we introduced our curriculum to organizations that had already had programming that just needed a girls' leg of the program, and we trained those individuals. So all in all, we did that work for about 10 years. We were able to service about 75 to 95 girls between our program and then those programs. So 75 under our actual foundation, and then about 25 with individuals who had bought the curriculum that we know of, that reported. We're not sure how that continued. And so then from there, I started, because of the money that had been raised, we did our own fundraising. We never got grants. We did everything like door-to-door businesses, raising money. And so that first year, we had raised $13,000 within a month. And so after raising that type of money, we were being poached by different organizations to assist with their fundraising efforts. And one of those organizations was the Dream Center. So the Dream Center, for those who don't know about the Dream Center, it's a non-for-profit organization connected to New Life Covenant Mother's Church under Pastor Choco's leadership. And so they work with a lot of gender responsive needs, specifically that around human trafficking. So at the time that I was approached, I didn't know what the Dream Center did, if I'm honest. I didn't even really realize what the work that I was doing in juvenile court and the connection to human trafficking. I just knew that I worked with a lot of girls and they went missing and I went looking and blase skippy. And so when she approached me to raise these funds, she said that it was for the farm in Moline, and the farm was for women to get their lives together. And so based on my background with the mother who suffered with substance abuse, I immediately assumed that it was drug addiction that they were getting treatment for. I did not make the connection to trafficking. And so I asked her if I could just donate it. I don't want to raise the funds. We have raised enough funds for Social Butterfly. Our program year is over. Can I just donate these funds to this organization? And only thing I want is that you name it in honor of my mom.
Yeah.
So they did that, and then they started calling me. They wanted me to come see, and I'm like, I just wanted to give y'all some money. I'm on we on vacation. I'm not doing any programming. And then she invited me out to do a ride along, and that's when I realized that it was a human trafficking organization.
Yep.
And so at the point that we were doing the ride along, I just felt like I was in a space in my life where I was just trying to find purpose. And I was like, what is this? It can't just be juvenile court. It can't be seeing these kids going in and out of custody. There has to be more. And so I found my more that night.
Yeah.
And so I did that ride along. I went to the first ride along, and I was supposed to leave after that. And I did not. I continued to ride along, and I continued working that night, and I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And I repeated that every Friday for 6 years.
Yeah.
And then at the point that I realized that the work that we were doing at the with Dream Center
Yep.
was not really reaching a population that I was familiar with, because of where the Dream Center is located, which is on the northwest side. We just service that north and west side. We would come to 47th and Ashland, 47th and Western, but we wouldn't go further than that. And I lived close to Roseland, and I knew that's just riding through the neighborhood, the need in Roseland. And so I started leaving outreach with the Dream Center, keeping stuff in my trunk, and then on my way home, servicing those underserved communities.
Yep.
Like Roseland, 79th Street, going up Ashland, 63rd. My husband was livid when he found out. I know you are not doing this by yourself. You're not going in your trunk. It probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but I felt that it was a need. And so from there, Girls Night Out I started doing Girls Night Out on an annual basis. I started training other organizations to serve their own community so that they can provide those instruments. Because one of the things that I'm always looking for as a community psychologist, you're always looking for the gaps. What's missing? Where's that missing piece? And one of the things that I discovered is that we do great outreach work around trafficking, sexual exploitation, domestic trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking. We do great outreach, but what we do not do is good follow-up. And so in my mind, if I train organizations in communities where trafficking is very prevalent, then they have a place to go to. It's not just come off the street and then what? Like, I come off the street and then what? Because if I don't offer a what after the recovery, then they're back and we're starting this cycle all over again. And so Girls Night Out, that's what that was to me. It was a way to bring those services to the community in which it was needed. And it also introduced other service-based organizations to this population, so they knew they had a place to go. So what we would do is we would meet prior to going out to the streets, and we would fill bags with all kind of information, with all of the resources in each community that we were going to. And we would have like overall resources that looked specifically around rape advocacy center, hotlines, and things of that nature. Any trauma-informed program in the Children's Advocate Center, all of that. So from that first year, we did 6 tracks that year in the Roseland area. We focused on Roseland. And then I started getting feedback, and they were saying, you need to do this all over the city. And so the next year...
Easy ask.
Easy ask, right? So the next year, I am proud to say that we took those 6 tracks and we covered 24 throughout the city of Chicago. We were able to partner with 24 organizations, service-based organizations, fraternities, sororities, churches. Everyone came out. Men's groups, women's groups, they all came out. They all adopted a track that night, and we sat on those tracks, and we interrupted trafficking from the hours of 10 p.m. to midnight on that night. And then it just started to grow and grow. And then we did hotels and motels. Then we focused on a specific hotel. And then the city gave us a night. So every 4th Friday in January is Girls Night Out in the city of Chicago. And it has just been a snowball effect where we have just grown and partnered with some amazing organizations. We've had Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated to offer their space and offer security and offer insurance, and they have been amazing with this work that I've done. We've had the Kappa Stilettos, and we've had the Children's Advocate Center, we've had DCFS. The Sheriff's Department from day one has always said, we will cover you wherever you go. Commander Dion tried to have covered me from day one and made sure that we have been covered wherever we go in the city every year, no matter where we go, no matter what the city is saying or what that township is saying about wanting us there. we've always been covered by the sheriff department, and we've always received that support from Sheriff Dart. And so it's always been just a great collaborative effort, which is something that we don't necessarily see in the city of Chicago, because oftentimes in the city, everyone is doing siloed work. And so I've always been so proud to be able to bring all of those organizations together and really work toward the same population. Because what we forget is that we still service the same. It's the same kids going in and out of every system while we doing the work separate. And so for that night every year, we don't do separate work. We come together, we service, we do outreach, we do aftercare, we set up, we've given scholarships and the whole nine. And so we've also bought in Olive Harvey to offer scholarships to survivors and survivors. And so this work has really grown. It started off with just, I want to go in my neighborhood, to every neighborhood these girls like that.
Wow. That was a really, really helpful crash course into this topic of trafficking. I've had the opportunity to interview an organization called Salt and Light Coalition. They work with women that have been trafficked in Chicago as well. And that was the first time I'd ever been introduced to this topic, and it was an enlightening moment for me. And I think some of the data that Dr. Olson shared was that tens of thousands of women in Chicago alone are trafficked every year, and that made me think of, okay, maybe my thought of what trafficking is very different than what it actually is. Mm-hmm. So taking a step back, I'd love to educate the audience here on how is trafficking defined, because I think the majority of the population think trafficking and think of the movie Taken, and it's something that happens in Europe, and that it's not something that's in their community or in their city or in their state or in their country. A quick education session for us. How do you and your organizations define trafficking? Just so we can explain it.
Trafficking, by definition, is defined as any commercial sex act that is done by force, fraud, or coercion, or the person that is induced to perform such acts has not obtained 18 years of age. So what that means is that anyone under the age of 18 cannot consent to sell sex, even though the age to consent to have sex in the state of Illinois is 17. You cannot consent to engage in any sex work until you have obtained 18 years of age. Then when we think about this idea of force, fraud, or coercion, we have to think about force, fraud, or coercion from a lens of trafficking, and so a lens of exploitation and trauma. So when we think about force is anything of force. If you're forced out of housing, if your safety is being threatened, if the safety of your family is being threatened, the threat of force, physical force, mental force, all of those things. Then you go into fraud. Fraud is just what it is, presenting something to be one thing and it's actually something else. Then when we think about coercion is the number one pathway to trafficking, specifically for adolescent girls. And so what that looks like is a manipulative relationship. Yep. Coercing someone into an act of commercial sex trade by introducing them through relationships, partnerships, work, legal entities of work, combining trafficking with labor, all of those things. So now you have to think about this from another standpoint, right? How does sex and labor intersect? Because when we think of labor trafficking, we usually think of that farming, warehousing, overseas. We don't really think about how that intersects in within the city of Chicago. So when we think about the intersection of sex and labor, that is simply done in massage parlors. It's done in pornography. It's done in strip clubs. All of those things is where sex and labor intersect, right? And because it intersects so often, the addendum was also made to the definition of sex trafficking, which include harboring, recruiting, transporting, providing, and obtaining a person for the use of a commercial sex act.
So some of the girls and women that you've worked with, have there been experiences where they haven't realized that what it actually is happening, and how has that conversation or interaction been for you to explain to them, like, this is not okay, this is something that's we need to get you out of, or what have those conversations been?
So more often than not, girls do not come into our setting saying, I've been trafficked, because understanding victimization from a victim standpoint looks very different than understanding victimization from a provider standpoint. So oftentimes as providers, we want these young ladies to come into our systems asking for help, admitting, and they don't understand their victimization. So when you think about a pathway looking like coercion, when you think about coercion being the number one pathway into trafficking, oftentimes girls come into this trafficking situation, this exploited situation, through a relationship that involves loyalty, that involves admiration, that involves protection, and all of those things that we long for as people. Yeah. So to tell a young person that this person who has been all of these things to you, as toxic as that relationship may be, it may be the only one that she has. Yeah. And so she does main provider, main validator, main protector, not understanding, withstanding, protecting from the abuse. They don't understand that. Our young people, they don't have PhDs in psychology. They don't understand the difference. They understand that this person has loved me when no one else has. Yeah. They understand that I don't have to worry about being judged because everyone in this setting is doing the same thing that I'm doing. And so for them, it doesn't feel like victimization. That person does not feel like a predator. And so for me, those conversations is simple. We start our conversations talking about the person that I'm sitting next to. We have human conversation. We don't talk about the trafficker or the pimp because that is the person that they are in love with. Yeah. And if we think about any relationship where you come into a room and you start talking about the person that I'm in love with, oh, we're done. It's nothing left. And so we start talking about this person. We start talking about what they need, what they've experienced, how that felt. And then I introduced the idea of, have you ever been in a situation where you felt as if this wasn't right? Have anything about this situation felt a little bit one-sided? And I introduced this idea of what healthy relationships look like. Is this a relationship that's accountable in both? Is it empathy in this situation? Is there compassion in this situation? Do you feel like this person is just as accountable to you that you are to them? Is he as consistent as you are? Is she as consistent as you are? And starting to change those thought patterns around what healthy relationships look like opposed to what I'm in right now. And then we can start talking about, I can introduce this idea of victimization. But I can't come in the door saying, girl, he wrong and that's it for me. Because this my man. My man. Like, you don't come in here talking about my man. I have nothing else to say to you. And so for me, in the same way that relationship was built, it was built. It did not just become established. I can't walk in the room in an established relationship with someone that's never met me. And then I'm coming into this relationship from a standpoint of a system-based relationship. Those don't really work out well for our girls. And coming in, building a trusting relationship. I'm honest with you. I got to tell the judge what you told me. So understanding, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm very transparent. This is the work I do, but I'm not coming in attacking what you do. Yeah. I'm building a relationship with the person in front of me. And then when you build relationships, you have to start pouring in different things. You plant a seed, you water that seed, you be consistent, you come back. When they don't want to talk, you walk away. You come back. You be just as consistent as the pimp, because the pimp is going to be consistent. They're going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. I'm just offering something different. Yeah. And we started the conversation by the work that you're doing in county. Where is the intersection between trafficking and juvenile center or county, if there is one? So I would not say, I cannot say that this particular thing grew from county. Yeah. What I can say is that I was introduced, the idea of having a human trafficking specialist within the county was introduced because of what the outreach that I was doing. Yeah. And so many of our young people go on run in county, right? Not within the detention center because they're not once released, right? So we have a lot of habitual runners that's going in and out of different systems. They're they're duly involved in the delinquent side along with the child protection side. They've had intersection with hospitals. They have a history of being truant from schools. And so those are the major systems that operate in a young person's life, right? Especially those young people in care. And being able to form collaborative relationships within those systems is how we have been able to attack this problem. Now, have we fixed it? No, but we have become we've become aware, we've become knowledgeable, we have built relationships that has not existed in the county prior to now. Yep. Relationships within detention that has not existed. So when girls go into intake, we don't give enough credit to the Juvenile Temporary Detention Center. I will say that hands down. Besides the police, that's our first point of contact. Yep. So when a young person is arrested and held in custody, they go through intake there. Yep. Those intake officers at Juvenile Detention Center, they are so knowledgeable about trafficking that they can get a person at 2:30 in the morning they're going to send me a text message saying, this girl came in and something about it is not right. Can you come and see her in the morning? Yep. And it's those relationships that's been formed through the work that started with outreach. So something that started on the outside, we've brought in the inside, and now we have woven together all these different systems. And now we're having conversations about, do you know someone, have this girl come across your desk? Is this on your radar? I've even received pictures. Are you going out tonight? Can you see if you can find this? If you see this girl on the street, she's been missing for XYZ amount of times. I'm receiving calls from the 11th district, the 4th district saying, I have a girl here and I don't want to arrest her. Can you come and assess her? That is the kind of collaborative work we have to do in order to impact this problem. No. We've tried to do this separate for long enough. And now that we're working together, a lot is happening. So when girls come in and we've even bought families from out of state, because we had a girl that was here from out of state. She was arrested at the 11th district. They called and said, this isn't right. I don't want to arrest her. She had an open warrant. We were even able to call Cook County adult and say, can you hold her? Her mom's on her way. I can find a ticket to get her home. I can get mom here, but she can't leave, because if she leave, we won't find her again. No. We were able to get mom here. Then mom got here. She don't have ID. The first thing pimps take is ID, birth certificates, passports, all of that. Yeah. So working within juvenile court, they have a relationship with the License Bureau, state of Illinois. We were able to get her a letter saying that she was homeless and now she can travel because mom has a outdated passport. Now she can travel. So it's all of that work. I can't do any of this by myself. I don't have enough hands to work within all those systems. But what we can do is build relationships so that we all can make phone calls for the greater good of our children. Because this isn't really about, I want you to get this accolade. I want to do this. I have not been able to do any of this by myself. The only thing that I've been able to do is bring the right people to the table. Yeah. And bringing the right people to the table has made the world of differences. I can call Victoria Davis with DCFS. She's the statewide coordinator, and ask her about any girl. She don't have to be in front of a computer. She can hear that name and, yeah, I know her. She was and that's how we get this work done. Yeah. Long-term solutions. What is the path to ending human trafficking, if that's not too lofty of an ask? I don't think it's too lofty of an ask. It's like the pathway to end everything, every social woe is economics. Yeah. It's basic economics. We have to provide transferable skills. We have to provide economic intelligence to individuals. We have to provide a pathway not just to come out, but to stay out. And that's just not trafficking. That's anything. When we think about drug dealing, when we think about gang involvement, it's all for $1. Yeah. And so if we can provide a way for young ladies to make money without going into this particular pathway of, because if we can show them that you're really not making this money, you're really an instrument to make money for other people. However, in this tragic, trauma-induced state, you have gained some skills that is very valuable and monetizable. So you know how to do hair, you know how to do makeup, you know how to count money, you know how to schedule visits, you know how to do all of these things that you can put in legitimate work. Yep. And so if we offer them a different solution to selling them, this has been going on since the beginning of time. And what has been missing? Yep. The ability to do it on my own legally. Mm. And I'm not saying selling sex. I'm saying selling those skills that you have gained from this tragedy. Preventative work. By the time you get to me, I'm intervening. You didn't get into this life overnight, you won't get out. But if I can prevent you from coming, if we can start providing these skills, we can start providing skills to recognize unhealthy relationships, providing skills to recognize language that may be inducive to trafficking online. If we can start providing information, accountability information, how to let young people know you can get an accountability partner, how to manage phone conversations, how to manage our social imprint online. If we can start doing that at a younger age, we'll find that by the time they get 15, they know all the tricks and the trades, and it's not as easy to manipulate them. Yeah. So we have to do preventative work starting at a younger age, and we have to introduce transferable skills. Everyone is not going to college. We need to invest in education and vocation. Yeah. because everyone is not going to college. Everyone don't have the means. Everyone don't have the generational knowledge to get them into college, but everybody has a skill set. And instead of looking at those negative things that affected their life, we need to start pulling out those strengths and saying we can monetize that strength.
Yeah.
So let's start doing some personal SWOTs on our kids. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? Once we can establish that, and we don't have to do that within systems. We can do that at home.
Yeah.
We can introduce this same concept to parents, to after school programs, to teachers, so that we can start teaching our young people that they are more than what they hold on their body.
Yeah.
That they have a skill set, they have a mind, they have our kids, the things that they have survived, I would have never survived. And so they already built to win. Mm-hmm. We just got to pull it out of them and stop focusing so much on what they did, because they are not what they did. They're destined to be greater than that mistake.
No. Have you, in your organizations that you've worked with, been able to track any data points over time? Is this something that's improving, or is it something that is getting worse?
It's not improving.
Yeah.
It's not improving. And I think, first of all, not only is it not improving, but it has become so normalized that it's not even a secret anymore. And so if organizations would equip themselves to handle this population, we can really get a hold of it, because they're not lying about doing it. It's become normal. I'm in my bag. I'm getting my money. We making this money. We eat now here. And so it's become so normal that all we have to do is have the provision. There's enough bodies out there to serve, but we have to be prepared when they come to us and tell the truth. COVID and this move to a digital lifestyle, Zoom and all of those things, and everything was online. We were being educated online. We were working online. People were receiving therapy online. And so what it did is it made a population that was unreachable, more reachable, and more vulnerable to traffickers. And so, and then with the social media platforms. So I can tell you that when I first started this work, it was street based. You had some girls that was online, but most of the online ads was older women. But now everyone has access to it. It's so many things, emojis, where even if you go on your reels, you may not recognize it from a regular eye. But if you are aware of trafficking, you know what those peaches mean. You know what those eggplants mean. You know what those rings together means. Couple play, all of those things. They're advertising this right here on our social media platforms, where they don't have to pay. So when you don't have when it's not monetized and you don't have to pay for it, it's easier access. So now our younger people are they're promoting pictures, they're promoting reels, and they're advertising, they're making connections in the inboxes. And so we have to be knowledgeable about that, and we have to start having conversations with our young people. Stop being afraid to talk. Because oftentimes they're waiting on someone just to ask what's going on. Yeah. When you see a young person that's continuing to run, what are they running from and who are they running to? Why are we not asking young people, are you okay? Yeah. You'll be surprised that something as simple as you okay, you'll be surprised how many of them say, no, I'm not. I'm not. What do you need from me? We don't have all the solutions, but if we have the knowledge of what's going on, we can do so much work. We can do so much work, and we have failed our children because we've gotten all this technology. We've bought into all of this technology. We have not safeguarded our children around it. Yeah. And so for me, it's gotten worse than when I first started. And I can't say that the numbers have gone up. I think with awareness going up and it being so normalized, it's so much more in plain sight. Yeah. So when something becomes that plain, then it's easier to fix if we know what's going on. So why are we not? Yeah. Yeah. Even, I think the advent, you mentioned technology, there's the new app or website, OnlyFans. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I feel like that just makes it even easier for legalized pimping. Yeah, it literally is. So when it's so easy for people to make a living off of doing things that could be considered trafficking, like they're exposed to, that leads to a lot of this trauma, it makes it hard to avoid that. It makes it hard to tell someone not to. Yeah, exactly. So signs. So just a normal human being walking about their life. What are some signs that we and listeners should think of if we see that should do a light bulb in our head and be like, maybe I should call somebody, or even organizations. We've interviewed a lot of nonprofits that work with a lot of youth and a lot of young girls.
So what are some things that they could look for as well in their programming when they're going about to see, maybe this is a red flag and we need to bring in some extra help?
So day-to-day life on the street, I say to be able to recognize street-based prostitution or street-based trafficking with our young people that are on bus stops. Bus stops is a major thing, and they never get on the bus. A young person that is seemingly just waiting on a bus, but constantly watching traffic, either way. Young people that's populated in areas like gas stations. Gas station is for cars, so why do we have so many young girls sitting around in a gas station? Girls who are populating around adults, bookstores, or industrial areas that's populated by a lot of men. Anything where men is, and you have all these young girls that are congregated in those areas, that's a red flag. Women, young girls or women who is with an older person that is not allowing them to speak freely, not making eye contact when talking to a person. In this idea of commercial sexual exploitation, there is this idea of reckless eyeballing. You should not be looking at another person. And so understanding body language. If you're talking to a young person and they're looking for the next person to almost for permission to speak, again, that's a red flag. In diners and restaurants, when a young person is sitting in their they seem to be waiting for somebody, but they're constantly looking for the person that's watching them. And being able to make eye contact between this person and another person, that's not normal. If you're there with someone, you're sitting together. And so I often tell people, when it doesn't make sense, it don't make sense.
Yep.
And we try to make sense out of crazy situations when it just does not make sense. Even in airports, when you're walking in airports and you see a person walking here and another person walking like catty corner where they can be seen out the corner of their eyes, that does not make sense. When I'm walking with my mate, I'm walking with my mate. I don't have to be 4 or 5 steps behind them. Where they can see me, I'm not behind them, I'm not on the side of them, but there's a power dynamic between the trafficker, a pimp, and their victim. And so they will not walk aside them, but they cannot walk behind them because I can't see them. I need the consistent line of sight. Those kind of things. Online, when you see things that does not make sense. And so I'll give you an example. If you see a post that says Black Girl Magic and it has a peach, a tongue, and raindrops, there's nothing magical about that. And that is not something that Black Girl Magic is something that is empowering. It often speaks about Black women obtaining goals and things of that nature. So that does not make sense to have that terminology with something that degrading. And again, when it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. To have young girls on reels with hit me up available, my line is dry, hit me up if you want to go out, all of these things, that's advertising. Emojis that look like donuts, peaches, eggplants, tongues, raindrops. Like I said, the 2 circles together, 2 hearts, two eggplants and a peach is advertising a menage a trois. All of those things, we have to have our children prepared for those type of engagement online, because sometimes they see something, they say, oh, that's cute, and they may share it, and what that does is invite predatory behavior in their inbox and things of that nature. So just being very mindful about what our children are doing online. Another thing that we have really, really ignored is the gaming systems with our younger boys. So when we think about the age of entry for girls age of entry it's always dropping, but it stays between 12 and 13, right? 12, 13, it used to go to 15, but I would say by 15, you're already engrossed. But for boys, the age of entry starts from 7 to 9. What are young boys doing at 7 to 9? They're playing video games. They have headphones on. They're talking to someone that they don't know. This person may be presenting at 7 and 8, but they may be 56 and offering pictures and things for block bucks, and things of that nature. So we have to be very mindful and very aware of what our children are doing online, even on gaming systems. Yeah. And we have to stop ignoring boys, because boys is a growing population, because we focus so much on girls. And I'm not saying ignore the girls, because they need our attention, but so do our younger boys. They need our attention. Boys who are in foster care, boys who are in parental situation where grandparents are parenting, boys who are in situations where a grandparent may have been the custodial and passed, and now they're living with the landlord. Does that make sense? No. Again, it doesn't make sense. And so just being aware of all of those things when we're talking about protecting our children and putting our children first. Yeah. not being comfortable, not wanting to make ourselves vulnerable. We have to start having these uncomfortable conversations with our young people. We have to know what they're doing, because it is the silence, it is the fact, it is the ignorance that push this type of profit.
Yeah. No. What do you feel? So say a normal person is walking down the street and some of these red flags came up. What do you think is the responsibility of we as humans to do in that situation? What should we do? What can we do? Yeah.
So there are several hotlines that you can engage. I would not ask anyone to go and start to have a conversation with a person that is with a pimp, or someone that they think, even if they're not with the pimp, you don't know where he is. You don't know if he's close. You don't know. And again, we have to understand that everyone that we think should be ready for help is not always ready for help. And so sometimes when we intervene, we cause more harm to that person. And so oftentimes providing them with just information is enough. We walk around with cards, with rescue and recovery cards with a number that says, if you ever feel unsafe, you can call this number. I have a hotline that I manage on my phone right here.
Yeah.
24-hour hotline. It's called, it's a care line, 570 help her. 570 help her. You can engage this hotline through text. You can leave voicemails. We can have conversations. We offer so many different avenues of service. We have relationships with the Chicago Children's Advocacy Center, with the Rape Advocacy Center. We have relationships with the Sheriff's Department. We make phone calls. If you are unable to call and say, I am in trouble or I need help, we can do that for you.
Yep.
There is the human trafficking hotline that you can engage. That hotline number is 888-373-788. You can also text info or help to 233-733. If you cannot remember that, it's be free. Just spell out be free. You can text and you can engage. But when you are engaging a hotline, you have to know what to put, what to tell. Always get clothing. Always get information. If they're getting in and out of car, taking down license plates number, things of that nature, so that you can offer enough information, because that young person may be on a missing and exploited list, and with that information we can get someone in and get them recovered and rescued and get them into some programming. But just saying I saw a girl on 59th, that girl may be on 119th in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And so having enough information that can be presented to law enforcement to really do some real good work.
Yeah.
So recognizing what they have on. When your children leave your home, make sure you make eye contact. Come out of that phone. Stop texting. Come out of the phone. Watch your child when she's walking out the door. Know what she has on. Register her fingerprints with the state of Illinois. You can register their fingerprints, so if they ever go missing, we need to start really paying attention to our kids. You do not know how many times I get calls from her. I don't know what she had on. I was asleep when she left. Get up, watch your children out the door. Make sure that you can give a good description of what they have on when girls go missing, because they intersect with so many people. But if a police officer finds your girl at night, they don't know she's missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when a young person goes missing, stop waiting 24 hours. When you get hit by a car, you don't wait 24 hours to call. When your car go missing, you call the police right away, right? Yeah. When your car is stolen, the first thing you do is call the police.
Yeah.
When your child go missing, why would you wait 24 hours?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear some stories of girls and women and maybe even boys that have gone through the programming and have been able to get out of that and I don't know if recidivism is using this terminology as well, but don't get back into the system again of this whole process.
So recycling into systems I cannot say that we do such great work that they never come back.
No.
The only time that they don't come back is when we offer an alternative to this lifestyle. And we've recently awarded a scholarship to a survivor, a 4-year scholarship that includes even GED programming, and then on to Olive Harvey to do some work. She wants to do respiratory therapy. And so making sure that all of her prerequisites are met and things of that nature. We've sent young people to programming outside of the state that has returned, and it's done some great work. We have professional makeup artists. We have young people who are managing security firms and things of that nature. And so we've had some great outcomes, but not enough to brag about, which means we have more work to do. I will not sit here and say we're doing all this great work. We rescued 300 people. They never went back. They go back. They go back. And so the thing that I can say that we do good, we do great work is being consistently involved, consistently in contact. I don't change, I will never change my cell phone number because I cannot, because I don't know when that 13-year-old at 17 needs to have contact with me. Being consistent around showing up. We've been able to reunite families, offering support with airline tickets, offering support, financial support with being able to provide temporary housing, connecting them to housing programs if that's out of the state. And so those are the type of where we do boots on the ground work.
Yeah.
And so to say they never will return, I can't say that. But what I can say is when they do call, we will be there to answer.
Wow. People that are listening and are inspired by the work that you're doing, is there any additional support or engagement that you look for typically, whether it's from different organizations or different people, even if it's just awareness of this topic now afterwards? Like, what are some of the engagement paths that people that are listening or organizations that are listening have to support?
Financial engagement. If you have an organization that you have worked with that's doing great work, please continue to support them financially, because most work is done grant funded. And if we cannot ensure the grants. We can never ensure the grants, but we can ensure support.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying always, I don't need all the money. All the money do not need to come to Girls Night Out. But what I need, if you are willing to support me, you also need to support housing organizations. You need to support workforce development organizations, because if I'm doing boots on the ground work and I'm doing rescue and recovery, I can't do anything after the rescue if these organizations are not being supported. And so my ask is that you support organizations that can help keep young people off the street. I beg. I don't have a problem begging for myself, but I do understand that there is an ecosystem around making sure that the impact is substantial, right? And in order for our impact to be substantial, we have to have workforce development. We have to have housing programs. We have to support transportation programs to transport individuals from one city to the next. We have to support organizations that's doing the work in different ways.
Yeah.
Just because trafficking is not part of their organization does not mean that they are not servicing trafficking victims. And so when we look at organizations like Nourishing Hope, they provide food for individuals who are not able to provide that food for themselves. What does that do? That keep a mother from having to sell herself for food for her child. They offer case management. When we think about Emmaus, who offer work to boys who are they are underserved, but Emmaus is serving that organization. When we think about Restoration 61, who's working on housing, when we think about, it's another housing organization. Oh my God. Accent. I think that's in Indiana. So we have to be very diligent around supporting programming who are intersecting with this population, whether it's around trafficking or not, traffic free. All of these organizations supporting fundraising events with the Children's Advocate Center. Yes, they have an endowment, but they still need help. Supporting Reclaim 13. They are the only housing facility in the Chicagoland area that will take adolescent trafficking victims right now.
Yeah.
Shelter Inc. Shelter Inc. is not a housing organization, it's not a trafficking organization, but they have been very instrumental in providing housing for homeless youth. Homelessness is a pathway to trafficking. So just stop. Don't think that if I have to support something that says trafficking. You don't. You have to support those organizations that support the victims who are coming out of this situation as well.
Yeah. Yep. So people that are listening, a lot of call to actions here, right? Mm-hmm. So keep an eye out for the red flags that we went over. Know that the hotlines are the hotlines that you could call if you see something. And then all the supportive organizations in the ecosystem to help these trafficking victims not get back into trafficking once they finally get out. Support them as well. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't cover or that you want to leave us with before we wrap up the interview here?
I just want you guys to be aware that victimizing victims, it does not help. Judgment, asking why, being very judgmental, offering shame. A lot of the organizations that we work with have been faith-based organizations. And I think if God judged us on what he knew about us, what he has seen, we would all be left out in the cold. So we cannot judge people on what we've heard that they've done, or We cannot make assumptions about why they're doing the things that they've done. We have to be a source of help and service. Whether or not you are an individual that is just offering a opportunity for a meal, or you're supporting an organization, or you're supporting a legislative bill, we gotta take all this stigma off this work, around the work that that young people find themselves surviving. This is survival. Yeah. And so instead of blaming the young person that is engaging in this work, why are we not looking at ourselves and saying, why have we not made provisions for young people that they don't have to go through this trauma? They don't have to go down that road. And so if we want to blame anybody, we got to blame ourselves, because it is our responsibility to make sure that our children are safe in our communities and in our society. And so stop blaming these children. Stop asking them why. Stop making it seem like it's their fault, because all we're doing is preventing them from coming to us for help. And we have the means to provide service, to provide protection, to provide assistance. But if they're not coming and asking, because we have not made a comfortable space for them, a safe space for them to say, I'm not okay. No. That's our fault. That's not that's not their fault. And when the children is not well, nothing is well in our community. And so we have to make sure that our children are covered in a place that's non-judgmental, that's safe. We're not glorifying or getting any kind of gratification. And check our motives. And this is for service providers. Check your motives when you're doing this work. This is not gratifying work. So if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you won't do it long. You got to make sure that you in for the long haul, because this is a problem that has lasted centuries. And so we got to be able to put our big girl panties on and put our comfortable shoes on and stand in this work and say, I'll be here 2 and 3 years later. We have all kind of providers that come in and out of this work. We cannot do that. So when we're looking to vet a program, they're gone in 30 days. Yeah. You got to be, if you're going to get in this work, make sure you're here for the long haul, because they're there and they've been in it for a long time, and they need somebody that they know they can call if they fall.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We're honored to share your story, and we'll be sharing all the links and hotlines and information for people that are listening to get engaged to follow up with you. It's an honor to share your story, Dr. Kisha, and look forward to all the amazing work that you're going to continue doing here in the Chicago area and beyond.
And I'm so thankful and grateful for your support. I'm grateful that you brought me to the table. Thank you so much to Fluent Radio for this partnership and this connection, because we couldn't have connected without him. And we've been around each other for years and not known it. And so it took Fluent to bring us to the table. And so I'm so grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Until next time.
Thank you.